Reaching the age of 65 is a transformative experience. It's a time when perspectives shift, priorities realign, and the way we engage with the world evolves. In my younger years, I was always available, ready to lend a hand, offer an ear, and be present for anyone who needed me. I believed that maintaining every relationship, no matter how draining, was a sign of loyalty and kindness. But as time passed, I realized that not every connection is worth maintaining. Some relationships uplift us, while others drain our energy and leave us feeling unappreciated. Learning to differentiate between the two has been one of the most valuable lessons of aging. Choosing solitude isn't about isolation or bitterness, it's about self-preservation. It's about prioritizing peace, setting boundaries, and investing in relationships that bring genuine joy. I've found that by letting go of toxic dynamics and unnecessary obligations, I've made space for deeper, more meaningful connections, both with others and with myself. Society often tells us that being social equates to being fulfilled, but I've discovered that fulfillment comes from quality, not quantity. Whether it's cherishing time with close family, engaging in hobbies that bring me joy, or simply enjoying a quiet morning without unnecessary distractions, I've learned to embrace this stage of life with clarity and intention. If you've ever felt this way, know that you're not alone. Aging isn't about fading away, it's about refining what truly matters. If you'd like to explore more insights on navigating this phase with wisdom, confidence, and joy, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Senior Life Unlocked. Together, we can embrace the beauty of this chapter and make the most of the years ahead. Chapter 1. The value of time becomes clearer. Time is no longer an endless resource. When we're young, we take it for granted, believing we have an infinite supply of days ahead. We fill our schedules with obligations, social expectations, and relationships that may not always serve us. There's always tomorrow, we think, until one day we realize that time is moving faster than we ever expected. At this stage of life, every moment feels more precious. Instead of mindlessly agreeing to commitments out of habit or obligation, I have learned to be intentional with how I spend my time. I no longer feel the need to please everyone or maintain relationships that drain me. Instead, I focus on what enriches my soul: quiet mornings with a book, meaningful conversations with people who truly care, and activities that bring me genuine happiness. Example story. A dear friend of mine, Mark, was someone who always said yes to everything. He believed that being available for family, work, and friends made him a good person. Whether it was attending every family gathering, helping neighbors at a moment's notice, or staying late at work long after retirement, he never turned anyone down. But as the years passed, he found himself exhausted and unfulfilled. His days were filled with obligations, yet he felt disconnected from the things that once brought him joy. At 65, he reached a turning point. He realized he had been living his life for others but had neglected himself. Slowly, he began saying no to things that didn't align with his values. Instead of attending every event out of obligation, he chose to spend his time on what truly mattered: gardening, writing, and traveling with his wife. He discovered that when he stopped stretching himself thin for others, his life became richer, more peaceful, and deeply fulfilling. Lesson: time is our most valuable asset, yet it's often the one thing we give away too easily. The older we get, the clearer it becomes that every moment should be spent wisely. Ask yourself, does this bring me joy? Does this align with my values? If the answer is no, it's okay to step away. Protect your time fiercely and invest it in what truly nourishes your soul. Chapter 2. Relationships evolve, and that's okay. Not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. As we journey through life, we change, our values shift, our interests evolve, and our priorities realign. Some people walk with us for a season, teaching us valuable lessons, while others remain by our side for the long haul. In my younger years, I struggled with this truth. I believed that letting go of a friendship or distancing myself from certain relationships was a sign of failure or disloyalty. I clung to connections out of habit and obligation, even when they no longer brought joy. But with time, I've learned to embrace the natural ebb and flow of relationships. Some friendships are built for a lifetime, providing unwavering support and companionship. Others are meant to serve a purpose, to teach us, challenge us, or guide us through a specific phase of life. And when that phase ends, it's okay to part ways with gratitude rather than guilt. Example story. I once had a lifelong friend, John, whom I deeply valued. We shared countless memories, college days filled with laughter, road trips, and late-night talks about our dreams. For years, he was like a brother to me. But as time passed, our values and priorities took different directions. Our conversations became more surface level, lacking the depth they once had. I noticed that instead of feeling energized after spending time together, I felt drained. The connection that once brought joy had become an obligation, something I maintained out of nostalgia rather than genuine fulfillment. For years, I resisted the idea of letting go. I told myself that true friendships should withstand the test of time. But eventually, I realized that forcing a relationship to continue when it no longer serves both people does more harm than good. So, I made the difficult decision to step back, not with resentment, but with acceptance, and in doing so, I freed myself to nurture deeper, more meaningful relationships with those who truly uplifted and supported me. Lesson: it's not about how many relationships we maintain, but about the quality of the connections we choose to keep. The people in our lives should bring us peace, joy, and encouragement, not exhaustion or obligation. If a relationship no longer aligns with who you are or where you're going, it's okay to step away. Letting go isn't a sign of failure, it's an act of self-respect. Chapter 3. Trust is earned, not freely given. Trust is one of the most fragile yet valuable aspects of human relationships. In my younger years, I gave it away freely, believing that people were inherently good and that honesty was a given. I thought that by showing trust, I would receive the same in return. And while this openness did lead to beautiful, lasting relationships, it also resulted in some of my deepest disappointments. I've come to understand that trust should not be handed out carelessly. It's not a guarantee that everyone will honor it the way we hope they will. People can be kind but still unreliable. They can be warm but still have hidden motives. It doesn't mean we should become cynical or close ourselves off from meaningful connections. It simply means we must be discerning. Trust should be something earned over time through consistent actions, not given blindly based on words alone. Example story. I once went into a business venture with a close friend. I believed in his character, his work ethic, and his promises. Since we had been friends for years, I didn't feel the need to question things too much. I trusted his word and assumed he had the same level of integrity that I did. Over time, I noticed small inconsistencies. Certain numbers didn't quite add up, and some of his decisions felt questionable. But I ignored the red flags. I reassured myself that I was just being overly cautious, that I was reading too much into things. After all, we were friends. What reason would he have to betray me? Eventually, I could no longer overlook the truth. I discovered financial dishonesty that had been going on for months, perhaps longer. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the financial loss, but because I had ignored my own instincts. The signs were there, but I chose to trust blindly rather than question what needed to be questioned. It was a painful lesson, but a necessary one. Since then, I have learned to listen to my inner voice, to pay attention when something feels off, and to trust my own judgment before placing blind faith in others. Lesson: trusting others is important, but trusting yourself is even more crucial. If something doesn't feel right, honor that feeling. Your intuition exists for a reason. It is your internal guide, shaped by years of experience. Trust should not be given away cheaply, it should be built, nurtured, and tested over time. And above all, protecting your peace is far more valuable than maintaining blind loyalty. Chapter 4. The world has changed, and so have we. The world today moves at an unprecedented pace. Life once felt slower, more deliberate. People made time for meaningful conversations, shared meals, and the simple joys of being present. But as technology has advanced, so too has the way we interact with one another. While modern conveniences have made life easier in many ways, they have also created a sense of distance. People are busier, more distracted, and less present. Conversations are often interrupted by the constant ping of notifications. Family gatherings, once filled with laughter and storytelling, are now accompanied by the glow of screens. It's not that people don't care, it's that the world has shifted in a way that prioritizes speed over depth, efficiency over presence. I've seen this change unfold gradually. And at first, I resisted it. I longed for the way things used to be, the long phone calls, the handwritten letters, The leisurely walks with friends where no one was in a hurry. But instead of dwelling on what has been lost, I have learned to focus on what I can preserve. Example story. I remember when Sunday family dinners were sacred. Every week, we'd gather at the same table, sharing stories from our lives, laughing at old memories, and enjoying uninterrupted time together. Phones were nowhere in sight because they weren't the center of our world. Our relationships were. Those moments felt rich, unhurried, and deeply fulfilling. Now, family gatherings feel different. People arrive with their phones in hand, glancing at screens every few minutes, half listening to conversations, and responding with distracted nods. Meals that once stretched for hours now feel rushed. The warmth of face-to-face connection has diminished, replaced by the habit of digital engagement. For a while, this change saddened me. I wondered if the closeness we once had was slipping away for good. But then, I realized that while I may not be able to change the world, I can change how I navigate it. Lesson. Instead of lamenting the way things have changed, I choose to create pockets of simplicity in my life. I make an effort to cherish in-person conversations, to write letters instead of just sending quick texts, to sit with a cup of tea and enjoy the silence instead of filling every moment with digital noise. Technology may have reshaped the way we interact, but it does not have to dictate the depth of our relationships. By being intentional, by choosing presence over distraction, we can still nurture the human connections that truly matter. Chapter 5. Solitude is a gift, not a curse. Many people fear being alone, equating it with loneliness. Society often portrays solitude as something to be avoided, something that must be filled with distractions, social engagements, or background noise. But solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is the longing for connection, a sense of emptiness when companionship is missing. Solitude, on the other hand, is a sanctuary, a space for reflection, creativity, and peace. It is a choice, not a condition to be feared. In my younger years, I might have avoided solitude, filling my time with activities and people to avoid the quiet. But as I've grown older, I have come to appreciate the beauty of being alone. In solitude, I can hear my own thoughts, rediscover my passions, and embrace moments of stillness that the chaos of life once drowned out. Instead of seeking constant external stimulation, I have learned to enjoy my own company and find fulfillment in simple, peaceful moments. Example story. My neighbor, Linda, was married for over 40 years. When her husband passed away, she was devastated, not only by his absence but by the deafening silence of an empty home. The quiet felt unbearable, and at first, she filled her days with distractions, keeping the television on all day, scrolling through social media, and saying yes to every invitation just to avoid being alone. But over time, Linda realized that constantly trying to escape solitude wasn't bringing her peace. Instead of resisting it, she decided to embrace it. She took up painting, a hobby she had always loved but never had time for. She began spending afternoons at the beach, walking barefoot in the sand, letting the ocean breeze remind her that life still held beauty. She started journaling, capturing her thoughts and reflections in a way she had never done before. Slowly, solitude became her strength, not her burden. Rather than focusing on what she had lost, she found joy in what she still had: her creativity, her independence, and the ability to shape her days as she wished. She learned that solitude wasn't something to be feared but something to be cherished. Lesson. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. Solitude is an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to explore passions, and to enjoy the quiet moments without the distractions of the world. It is a time to listen to your thoughts, to nurture your own happiness, and to truly appreciate your own company. When embraced with the right mindset, solitude becomes a source of strength, clarity, and deep inner peace. Chapter 6. Avoiding people to protect peace. There comes a time in life when protecting your peace becomes more important than pleasing others. Avoiding certain people or situations isn't about resentment or holding grudges, it's about self-care. It's about recognizing what drains your energy and making a conscious choice to step away from negativity. In my younger years, I felt obligated to be everywhere and maintain every relationship, no matter how much it exhausted me. I attended gatherings out of guilt, answered phone calls I didn't want to take, and engaged in conversations that left me feeling drained rather than uplifted. I thought that saying no would make me seem selfish or unkind. But as I've grown older, I've realized that constantly putting others before myself wasn't kindness, it was self-neglect. I now see that my time, energy, and emotional well-being are precious. Not everyone deserves access to my life. And not every invitation or social obligation needs to be accepted. Protecting my peace means being intentional about who I allow into my space and where I choose to invest my time. Example story. For years, I attended every family event out of obligation. Even when the conversations were filled with gossip, negativity, or unnecessary drama, I forced myself to be present. I would sit through hours of discussions that drained me, leave feeling emotionally exhausted, and wonder why I had subjected myself to it yet again. One day, I made a decision. I would no longer attend out of guilt. The next time an invitation arrived, I politely declined. At first, I felt a wave of anxiety. What if people got upset? What if they thought I was distancing myself for the wrong reasons? But to my surprise, the world didn't fall apart. Some family members barely noticed my absence. Others were curious but eventually accepted my decision. And most importantly, I felt a profound sense of relief. Instead of spending my weekend feeling drained, I used that time for something meaningful, reading a book, taking a walk, or simply enjoying the quiet. That single decision sparked a transformation. I became more selective with my time, choosing interactions that added value rather than drained it. I realized that I was not responsible for managing other people's emotions. And prioritizing my own well-being was not something to feel guilty about. Lesson. It's okay to step away from negativity. It's okay to say no without guilt. Protecting your peace is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of self-respect. Not everyone deserves access to your time and energy. And it's perfectly fine to prioritize your own well-being over social expectations. The more you set boundaries, the more freedom and peace you'll find in your daily life. Embracing this chapter of life. At 65, life isn't about endings, it's about new beginnings. It's about stepping into a phase of life where you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to others. Where you embrace who you truly are without apology. It's a time to reflect on the experiences that have shaped you. Let go of what no longer serves you, and fill your days with purpose, joy, and peace. For much of our lives, we are conditioned to prioritize others, our families, our careers, and our obligations. We say yes when we want to say no. We maintain relationships out of habit rather than fulfillment, and we put our own needs aside for the sake of keeping the peace. But now, this chapter is about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your happiness. It's about making choices that align with your values and stepping away from anything that drains you. A new perspective on life. If you've ever felt the need to pull back, to prioritize yourself, or to redefine your relationships, know that you are not alone. Many reach this stage of life and realize that true fulfillment doesn't come from the number of people in your life but from the quality of the connections you keep. It's about choosing depth over surface-level interactions, simplicity over chaos, and peace over obligation. There is freedom in realizing that you no longer have to participate in things that don't bring you joy. There is peace in knowing that you are not responsible for carrying relationships that weigh you down. And there is power in deciding to focus on what truly matters, whether that means spending time with loved ones who uplift you, diving into a long-forgotten passion, or simply allowing yourself the space to enjoy quiet moments of solitude. A life of purpose and joy. As you navigate this journey, remember this. Life's richness isn't measured by how many people surround you but by the depth of the connections you choose to keep. Choose wisely, live fully, and embrace this chapter with open arms. If these reflections resonate with you and you're looking for more inspiration on living a fulfilling, intentional life after 65, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Senior Life Unlocked. Together, we can explore the wisdom, freedom, and joy that this stage of life has to offer. Subscribe now and join a community that celebrates the beauty of aging with confidence and purpose.